Hey guys, what's up? Sean here, and today we're discussing whether Conor McGregor was stripped of the lightweight title, and if he wasn't, or if he was, what that means, because as the title of the video kind of looks clickbaity, it's not meant to be. It's just, I don't know, was he stripped of the title? So today at the UFC 223 press conference, and 222, but the UFC press conference, Tony Ferguson was announced to be fighting Khabib Nurmagomedov for the lightweight title, and Dana specifically said the undisputed championship. Now, Tony Ferguson is currently the interim lightweight champion, or he was, I think. See, it gets really confusing when you try to figure this out. Conor McGregor was/is the lightweight champion, again, making Ferguson the interim, we think. But now Khabib and him are fighting for the undisputed title, which would therefore mean Conor McGregor is not the undisputed champion, or not the lightweight champion, or not a champion at all, unless he's the interim champion, which would be weird because you can't really win the interim title by being stripped, but maybe he is. I don't know. So it's very confusing, and Dana refused to answer questions regarding what that meant, basically saying that nothing has changed on the front with Conor, and that I guess he's still champion because he refused to say he was stripped. McGregor has not said anything. I think he just tweeted the word testosterone or something. Okay, I don't know. With a picture of him standing there, which didn't seem to clarify anything any further. So, yeah, I'm of a few opinions on this. First of all, I don't think McGregor needs the belts. I think belts are good to promote guys who casual and, regular fans, but casual fans who don't, read all the news and watch every prelim, for them to get introduced to a guy and to start caring. If you get into a title fight, even if you, have one and you lose, and you never actually become champion, people now know your name. So it's good to build people's names up. It's good to draw attention to cards. If a card has a title fight in the main event, it's more interesting than a non-title fight in the main event. Previously on the UFC, last week they had the fight night on Sunday night in St. Louis, which had Jeremy Stephens and Choi fighting. That's not a very big name fight. I was excited because I thought that was going to be fun, but the Korean Superboy, I think is his nickname. He's not very well known. Jeremy Stephens, he's had some fights against interesting people, but he's probably not that well known casually. It did good numbers because of the NFL lead-in that it had, but on a normal night, normal circumstances, probably wouldn't have done that well. So you put a title in there, and now it's a big deal. But titles themselves are not that important. Sure, title fights are usually the best fights, but that's because they're between the best people generally. So I think McGregor doesn't need the belt, and I think ideally belts would be used to get people to McGregor's level. Now, not everyone is going to transcend to McGregor's level the way he has. Obviously, that's impossible, but you could, conceivably get people up to that level and then keep them interesting so that when they're not in title fights, they're still drawing good numbers. I think, someone like GSP, who has a long title reign, which is probably why he draws the numbers he does, but someone like McGregor draws numbers regardless, and he's never defended a belt. He's won 2 and never defended 1. So, ideally you would get the champions or people in title fights to build them up, but once they're at a level like McGregor, it's not necessary that they hold the belt. Sure, if he wants to keep defending it, go ahead, but there's probably more money if you're the UFC and if you're Conor to be made in doing fights that aren't for belts, but are just interesting fights against interesting people, such as GSP and Nate Diaz, or maybe even Nick Diaz. Who knows? Why not, right? I don't think the weights really line up there, but why the fuck not? McGregor's gone up to welterweight. Just go up to middleweight. I don't know how you're going to make it, but go ahead. Give it your best shot. So, I don't think him losing the belt is a big deal. I think to Conor it's a big deal. I think Conor likes having gold. But at the same time, if you say, hey, Conor, this fight with GSP is going to do crazy numbers. You want to do that? Or do you want to, fight Tony Ferguson? Like, Tony Ferguson's fight would do good numbers because it's a title fight and it's Conor. But I think GSP and Conor does infinitely better if you're making the sacrifice of a belt for, infinitely more money, I would take the infinitely more money every time. And I think, you know, as far as casual fans and a lot of fans go, it's a fight a lot of fans would want to see. I'm as excited for a fight with Tony Ferguson or Khabib as I am for a fight with GSP for Conor, but that's probably not true of everyone. A lot of people would say Tony Ferguson who? Khabib who? Now, Khabib you could easily build up because he has an undefeated record, and Tony Ferguson has the, I think, longest win streak in the lightweight division right now, but at the same time, maybe all time, but, you know, casual fans are not going to jump out of their seats necessarily for a Tony Ferguson fight or a Khabib fight that's not against Conor McGregor. They do jump out of their seat for GSP, they jump out of their seat for Conor, put them together, match made in heaven, tons of money, and you don't really need the title belt. So I think from the UFC's perspective and from the sports perspective, people put a lot of weight on the belts as if they're some important, treasured aspect of the sport. They're not really. People who, you know, really love the sport just want to see the best fights. And if the best fights don't have the belt, no one cares. If the best fight is the first fight on a prelim for nothing, people are excited if it's the best fight, if you know what you're watching. And, you know, so if you take the belt off of Conor and you give it to the Khabib-Tony fight and to everyone who comes after that, you have a better chance of building those stars while still booking the best fights possible for everyone. Now, hopefully at some point McGregor gets around to Khabib and Tony and all those people, but if he doesn't, hey, at least we put the spotlight on those guys to try and build them up to Conor's level for the day that Conor inevitably walks away from the sport. Anyways, let me know in the comment section below if you think Conor McGregor should be stripped, and if you do, why? Is it because it doesn't matter that he has the belt or doesn't, which is how I feel, or is it because you think he's ruining the sport and tarnishing the belt and all those kinds of things, which is also fine. Anyways, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all later.